Alright guys, what is going on? Welcome in. So look, over the past couple days, we've had a few different things pop up with the whole Jamal Adams New York Jets situation. And to be 100% honest with you, it's so draining, right? It's so draining. Just every time I read something, hear something, see something, what have you, almost to a certain extent, it's nauseating, right? Because as a Jet fan, you want some closure, right? You want to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You want to know how the story comes to an end, right? Or possibly continues on. But I just don't see a scenario where Joe Douglas wakes up, right, tomorrow and a week from now, where he is pretty much saying, you know what, let's drop everything, let's scrap the initial plan, and let's go ahead and give Adams his massive mega deal, upwards of $20 million annually, that Jamal is looking for. I just don't see that panning out, right? That being a reality. So given the history, given the track record of both parties involved, I just don't see a situation where Jamal Adams is playing for the Jets next season. I mean, just in this last couple of weeks from Jamal's side, we've seen cryptic tweets, I mean, including the one that happened a couple days ago with Jamal addressing Marcus May saying, pretty much, not verbatim here, but, I'm going to miss playing with you. We've had the Dallas Cowboy video. We've had the official trade request from Jamal to the Jets. We've seen Jamal give Joe Douglas a laundry list of teams that he would rather, play for, that he wants to go to, including Philly, Dallas, Baltimore, who else? Seattle, Kansas City, San Fran, a couple other teams. So at this point in time, I just don't see it happening, right? So what I'm kind of getting at is there are some benefits. Yes. Is Jamal a great player? Yes. Will the Jets defense be taking a hit if we go ahead and trade this guy? Yes, it is. I mean, that's the fact of the matter. Jamal Adams is a top 3 safety in the league, best overall strong safety. Arguably, you can make an argument he is the number 1 safety in the entire NFL. But there are some benefits. There is a silver lining. We're going to go through them. Okay, so the first one, obvious one here, the compensation, the asset or assets that we would get back in return for Jamal Adams, it's going to be nice, right? It's going to be solid. It's going to be a huge piece or pieces moving forward for this Jets team, whether it's a player, right? And I know there's been some talks like Zach Martin from Dallas, Lyle Collins. You got to think, too, that if we're going to be trading away Jamal Adams and getting a player back in return, it's going to be coming at a position of need, like O-line, like wide receiver, like edge rusher, cornerback, possibly outside linebacker, somewhere along those, along those lines would be a position that the Jets would be getting back. Say it's not a player, say it's a pick or picks. I don't see a situation where the Jets would get less than a first round pick. If we're only talking about draft capital, we're at least getting a first round pick here. If it's a similar situation like Jalen Ramsey a couple years ago, or last year rather, the Jags got 2 first-round picks, okay, for Jalen Ramsey. That's really, really nice compensation for a guy that is publicly, bashing the franchise and saying, I'm not playing for you, trade me. With every team out there, with every fan, player, and coach out there knowing that information, they still were able to get 2 first-round picks. That's huge, right? That's huge. And I feel like the Jets are in the same situation. So no matter the team that we trade Jamal Adams to, doesn't really matter. What matters is the compensation that we get back is going to be huge. Whether it's players, whether it's picks, whether it's a player and a pick, or picks and a player, whatever the case is, we're going to get a nice compensate or a nice piece or pieces moving forward. So that's the obvious one. Number 2, we're going to be clearing cap room. Again, pretty obvious here, but Jamal's owed $7 million for this season, so not that big of a deal for 2020. Even though I will say this, the Jets right now, I believe, are sitting somewhere in the range of $24 to $25 million in space. So if you take away that $7 million, right, and you put that on top of the cap room, making it $32 million, maybe that gives Joe Douglas a little bit of more, it gives him some leash to go out and sign a guy like Logan Ryan, to sign a guy like Jadeveon Clowney, to get another impact player on this team that can immediately help out, right? And if we're talking Jadeveon Clowney, I mean, we're losing a great player in Jamal Adams. And yes, 2 different positions here, but if we lose Jamal Adams, we get a huge haul back for him, and then we have the money to go ahead and sign Jadeveon Clowney to a 1 or 2 year contract, possibly 3, maybe a 2 year with a team option for a 3, whatever. If that's the case, that would be awesome, right? That would be incredible, right? If we were to get an impact player, or whether it's Logan Ryan or whoever it is. So we clear the cap room for not only this season, but for years to come. that kind of branches into my next, or segues or meshes into my third point, which is we lose the headache, right? We lose the headache of, Jamal Adams possibly, having this linger on and him holding out. We lose the headache of him bashing the team on social media, or maybe more videos arise of him saying, oh, trade me here, trade me there, whatever the case may be, like more Dallas videos. We kind of get rid of the risk of, maybe say he reports the camp, he's a Jet, whatever, he's playing. But every time we lose, you're kind of walking on eggshells. You're waiting for Jamal Adams to throw the coaching staff under the bus, to say trade me to the media, to throw the players under the bus or whatever. You're just losing the headache, right? And you're also getting rid of a possible, I don't want to say a mental hindrance, but you're losing the idea or the pressure of knowing that you're going to have to pay a guy $20 million a year moving forward, right? So that's just going to be completely gone. It's something that Joe Douglas he just doesn't have to worry about anymore. He doesn't have to say to himself, kind of in the same position that we are with Sam Darnold, right? If Darnold continues to progress, hopefully, right, that's all the plan here. If he continues to progress and we want to sign him to a long-term deal, that's in the back of Joe Douglas's mind right now. So we're not going to go out and spend a ton of money on 4, 5, 6-year contracts right now. We're just not going to be doing that because we have to keep in mind when Darnold is set to kind of get ready for that extension and he continues to progress. I mean, we got to make sure that we have enough for him. So we just lose the overall headache, right? And point number 4, Gregg Williams has shown in the past that he can win, he can perform on defense with minimal talent, right? Look back at last season with the Jets when every one of our players were like seemingly hurt. We had no pass rush at all, but we were still a formidable defense. Go back to Cleveland, go back to LA, go back to St. Louis, go to Tennessee. I mean, this guy has shown he could coach defense. So losing a player like Jamal Adams, yes, it would hurt the defense overall, but the track record of Coach Williams is time-tested, if you will. It's time-tested, and he's going to get the job done. Whether Adams is on the team, whether he's not on the team, Williams will put together, formulate a great defense moving forward. Not saying it's going to be a top 5, top 3, top 2 defense, what have you, but I could see it being a top 15 defense with or without Jamal Adams, and that's kind of the bottom line. Gregg Williams, he can coach with not a lot of talent. He could produce with not a lot of talent on this team. And then point number 5, there's a lot, and this one's it might, kind of strike people the wrong way here, but there's a lot of decent, right? Not amazing, not great. There's a lot of decent stopgap replacements at that strong safety position, right? Whether you're talking about a guy currently on the roster, Ashton Davis, 3rd round pick out of Cal, showed a lot of promise at Cal. One of my favorite draft picks, by the way. Whether you're talking about him, whether you're talking about reaching into the free agent market, and keep in mind, remember, if the Jets do in fact Adams, we have that extra $7 million to where we can sign one of these guys and have enough money to bring in another safety and maybe sign a Clowney, sign a Logan Ryan, but go out and get a guy like Eric Reed, Tony Jefferson, right? Rashad Jones from Miami. I mean, he's still a free agent. I don't know why he's still a free agent. I always thought Jones was a really good player. Tavon Wilson from the ex-Patriot, ex-Lion, one of my favorites. Kind of plays with that Gregg Williams aggression, that that kind of that violent nature that Williams likes from his defensive players. So there are options available. So it's not going to just be like completely barren at that position, and it's just going to be a major hole where it's going to be a liability, and that's the reason why teams are just running all over us and throwing all over us and just dominating us, is because we don't have that strong safety position solidified. We can get a guy on the cheap end, maybe a veteran guy like one of the dudes I just mentioned, who are all still capable players, who are all available, right? And that's not to even say we don't even trade for another safety, like we don't get a safety back in return. So those are kind of the 5 silver linings of it all. It's, yes, Jamal Adams is a great player. I love Jamal. He's so young. He's so good at it. I mean, a couple years into his career, this guy's on track to be a Hall of Famer. And to trade away a guy like that, it's always a tough pill to swallow. But at the same time, I feel like we have to look ourselves in the face and say, you know what, this dude just does not want to play for us. Let's flip him. Let's get something nice back in return, and hopefully some of these things can pan out. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and go Jets.